and I made a note of that. So that's how I identified my gap areas between the CNE handbook, doing what you told us to do with the highlights. And I have to tell you, I won't show you all because almost everything is highlighted. It's like everything was a gap. I'm like, oh my goodness. So that's very daunting. Don't look at that one.
Yeah, well, I think what you said, Dion, though, many of the colleagues on the call today can relate to exactly what you're describing. But you have shared so much, I think, insight about your journey, and we appreciate you joining us. But the other point I would share is we can hear that you talked about this really being a journey of transformation because we are excited when you are successful on the exam. But what I also have heard you talk about is you realized the content that you weren't knowledgeable about to pass the exam, but also just making sure that you are connecting with the content in a way that you can apply the concepts that you are studying as well. So I think that's a great point. You talked about having some support from your colleagues at your university. I think that's another level of support. And then you talked about using that reference list, which we say is so
Yes.
important, and not using other resources, but focusing on Dr. Caputi and Billings and Halstead textbooks. So we appreciate you sharing all of this amazing wisdom. If you had one,
And the workbook. The
and the
workbook, this
workbook, that's
one.
right, and the
Yeah.
workbook. Thank you for sharing that. So the workbook, the references list, Dr. Caputi's CNE review book, second edition, Billings and Halstead is going to be the sixth edition, and that blueprint.